What up, everybody? What is good? I am your host, California Cal, and welcome to the Damn Dude Podcast.
Damn, dude.
We're here to have really just real-ass conversations, keep it authentic, and from what I've discovered from all the interviews I'm doing, I'm kind of like setting up this whole podcast a little backwards. But I did all my interviews before recording my own first solo episode. But what's interesting is because I wanted to kind of like get the feel for what this was about and the best way to like really like categorize this and say like, yo, like what is this magic that keeps happening? Like I'm not entirely sure. So like, let's just fucking go try and see what happens. So through that experience, this is the Damn Dude Podcast, where we have the conversations that need to be had. That's what I've discovered. That's the type of conversations that you can expect from the Damn Dude Podcast. The reason we call this the Damn Dude Podcast is because we have the conversations in a way that'll make you think and say, damn, dude.
Damn, dude.
And like I said, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Calvin, California Cal, Calvin Cuz, Cali Cal, Calves, Tumnus, Coco Bird, Coco, Daddy, Dad. I'm a father, got 2 kids. I'll get into that. How else do you know me? Depending how you know me, you might know me from many different names. Shit, what are some other ones? Quang, Stana, Brolvin, did I say Tumnus? Yeah, there's a whole bunch, and it's kind of funny. It's just like, depending where you know me from, you know me as one of those sorts of names. I grew up in San Diego, California, and grew up in Mira Mesa, Mecca Town.
I know Mira Mesa.
You know what I'm saying? Mira Mesa. Was living in Southeast for the last while.
I know Southeast Dago.
Before Southeast, I was living in Hawaii. I was living in North Shore, on Oahu. I lived up in Pupukea, up where the like right in where Sharks Cove is. You go up that hill where that food land's at, and that's where I stayed, was right up on top of that hill. I would drive down in the morning. I'd be like smoking a blunt, ride my motorcycle, and like I would literally see fucking whales jump out of the ocean like in the morning. I was just like, yo, this is fucking something else, dude. Like, what did I get myself into? Prior to that, I lived in IB. Prior to that, I lived in Mira Mesa, and I lived in Mira Mesa a couple different times, but then I lived in IB, and then before that, I grew up in Mira Mesa. Before that, I come from Claremont. So from those of you familiar with San Diego, you know what those places are. You know, I'm an '80s baby. I was born in '85, and like, so who am I? Like, for those of you that don't know me, I'm California Cal. I'm half Chinese, half Norwegian. I just turned fucking 35 years old. The braggadocious, like, cool guy side of me is like, yeah, I am the product of the Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris fight. That's how I was born. But yeah, it's not often that you get a Chinese Norwegian type of person. Shit, I'm trying to think where to even start. One thing to know about me is I jump subjects all over. Like, I always was the kid that said, oh, he's got ADD, this and that. My parents were always like, man, whatever, dude. Like, fuck that. I just don't think he's interested in what you're teaching him, really. And you know, it took me a long time to realize it's not stupid of me to have my brain jump everywhere. Like, I don't think in a linear, you know, like way that works well for like how they try and teach you in school and shit. So, shit. So one thing that you'll notice if you see some of the other trailers or other episodes or anything, depending what order you watch all these in, if you're watching video form, I'm gonna give a little explanation about why the background's different. And that is because, like I said, this podcast is about keeping it real and authenticity and having the conversations that need to be had. So where I'm at is back at my parents' fucking pad, dude. I'm back in my dad's house, the same house I grew up in, 35 fucking years old. My relationship didn't work out with my girl. We have 2 kids and, you know, a 15-year-old and an almost 2-year-old, Nate and Royal. Yeah, and it's like just within this last week, our relationship didn't work out. We had to call it quits, and it's like 6 years we were together, and I'm like, fuck, man, after everything I've done and been through and all of this, like, I'm fucking right back where I started, dude. Like, how the fuck did this happen? You know what I'm like? You know what? I know exactly how it happened. If I just look back and like keep it real, then I know what happened. The like ego-y side of me wants to like start pointing the finger and be like, oh well, she did this, she did that, da, da, da. And that's not how it is. One thing about me, I believe in taking personal responsibility for everything and anything that happens in our life. For example, like I've been cheated on in the past, not this last relationship, but just in the past. And for a while I was like, man, fuck you. But then at the same time I realized like, yo, it doesn't have to fucking be like fuck you. It's like once I took ownership of myself and took personal responsibility for myself, I no longer had to blame her. So like for cheating on me, I realized that, yo, I caused my ex to go cheat. I did that myself. And it's like, well, how the fuck you do that? You know, like, but the way I see it is like, well, shit, I was jealous, I was controlling, I was always just trying to like be right. I definitely had the need to be right all the time. So like I can see that my neediness, my jealousness, my need to be right really just forced her out of my like realm of love, you know, like the circle of love that I could put off is like it just pushed her away because I would just, I don't know, I would need that to feel loved and feel attention and shit like that, you know. And it's like I realized that controlling, like not even controlling, but like I wasn't hardcore controlling, it was more just like jealous, I guess I would say. But like where that comes from is like, yo, like you love me, you're supposed to just show all of that to me and only me, you know, like. And I realized that comes from like not getting enough hugs as a kid. And like it's kind of funny because I look back and I think it was like, shit, almost all the shit that we go through and all the problems or anything we encounter or like how we are, the negative sides of us, the bad sides of us, whatever, like it usually just stems from shit that's unresolved as a kid. So damn, I could go really deep in this. I'm trying to think what direction to take this. I want to keep everything somewhat linear, but like I said, my brain and me, I'm just like not the linear type of dude. So I'm trying to think. Let's go back here a little bit. It's like what makes me interesting? What makes me qualified to speak and have a podcast and have a platform and like what gives me the right to have a voice, I guess, in a way, or like who am I? Like why should anybody give a shit about what I say? You know what I'm saying? And I think what makes me unique, well, I know what makes me unique is the way that I grew up and the experiences that I've had and my context and perception on life and of those experiences. So I believe in life that like we all have the same. I'm kind of taking this from one of my mentors, David Meltzer. Like we all experience the same level of suck in life on a daily basis. Like it all averages out. Like the amount of suck a human can experience is kind of averages out to about the same in our daily lives on a daily basis as adults. Obviously there's circumstances and shit that's like, you know, beyond all that and whatever. But I'll just give a little bit of background about like my upbringing and stuff like that, and then I'll kind of get into what I do and why I do what I do, because that's really important to me anyway. So like I said, I grew up in Mira Mesa.
I know Mira Mesa.
And shout out to Ben Baller, by the way. I jacked these little clips of him saying stuff that I was like, yo, that's fucking sick. So shout out to you. If I need to shut that down, holler at me. But either way, if that's gonna happen, you gotta come have a conversation with me. So it's all out of love and respect. Shout out Ben Baller. He's a big inspiration for me doing this, and yeah, just a cool dude. Anyway, I grew up in Mira Mesa. I grew up around in like let me think the best way to like timeline this. So I grew up in like gang culture. And to a lot of people, and it took me moving out of my own neighborhood and like moving away to really realize that gang culture and gangbanging is like not necessarily normal, and that other people don't live these experiences on a daily basis, you know. So I'm gonna get into like why and what led me into thinking gangbanging was cool, and just like the way that we would think around here. So like for one, I was never in a gang. I never joined technically. I'd happen to know people from a bunch of different gangs who I was friends with before they joined anything. So why am I even around gangsters at all? So I'm gonna backtrack a bit here, and then I'll catch back up to there, and then I'm gonna go forward. We're gonna Quentin Tarantino this shit. So 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 roll with the punches here. Um, so going back, I moved to Mira Mesa when I was I was like almost 2 years old or 2 years old. I was about two. And from there, I grew up in like, I had a little sister. I had a little sister, and I have a little brother who are younger than me. I'm the oldest. And when I was in first grade, my little sister, my grandma, and my great aunt all passed away in the same month. And that was like fucking crazy as a kid, dude. Cause like at that time, like my parents had me when they were 17 and 18. So like at this time, they were only like 24, I want to say, when my sister passed away. And like imagine being 24 years old. It's like that's not even old. Like I know I didn't know shit still when I was 24. I still don't know shit, but like um like imagine, you lose a daughter and a mom and a aunt. Like that's crazy for my parents to go through, for me to go through. And like that just made living hard. You know what I'm saying? It was like life was tough, dude. Like I can't. I'll paint this picture. Nothing's really off limits, I feel like, with my life. So I'm gonna just go into everything. If I change subject, I feel like, or if I don't say something, it's not because I'm not willing to share it. It's because I think of something that's more interesting. So, um, yeah. So fucking, I'm like, yo, I remember. So check this out. This is pretty trippy too. It kind of ties into what I said a little bit ago too, about decisions we make as kids. Um, so I was 6 years old, and my little sister died, and I'm standing at her funeral, and there I am. I'm standing at her casket, and my little sister passed away right before she was 2 years old. She was almost two. She passed away due to heart problems, and a bunch of other medical complications. She had Down syndrome. She had like stomach issues, everything. And she passed away, and like I remember standing at her casket, and it was an open casket funeral, and she was laying there in her little white dress with the little gold like glitter things on it. And I just remember like standing there, and I looked around, and normally like I was the life of the party because I'm like this cool little rugrat kid like running around. I was all rugged and like had a long ass mullet, and I was tough as fuck. Like I was always super duper tough when I was a kid. That was like my thing. Like nobody could out fucking do more. Nobody could do more push-ups than me. Nobody could bunny hop higher than me, or like jump farther on their bike. Like I was just all like, we played tackle football in the street. Like I was just all about like, just going hard. So like I could really hang with adults when I was a little kid. And so I remember walking past all my parents' friends and and family and everything, and like I'm walking by, and normally I'm like the life of the party. And this time I walk by everybody, and like nobody's even acknowledging me. Like everybody's just in their own world. Like obviously understandable, like a little baby just died, but like that just as kid me, I'm like, yo, like I'm invisible. Holy shit. And my interpretation of that was like, yo, whenever I see adults, like they don't acknowledge each other. It's like, oh hey yo, and like pick each other up and stuff like that. Like, but as a kid, that was how I noticed and acknowledged that adults, or sorry, that's how I would notice that adults acknowledged kids. Was like, oh hey, what's up? And it was like a big deal. And as soon as I wasn't that big deal, everything just kind of like just zoomed back, and I'm standing on my sister's casket, and I sat there and I looked around, and I told myself, I just had this moment of like, I took a deep breath, and it was just me. I'm in this room full of like 100 people, but it's just me. And I remember like it was like everything went quiet, and I had this conversation with myself, and I was like, Calvin, your childhood is over. It's time for you to grow up. All that stuff is done. And I just remember I told myself that, and I made that absolute decision. It wasn't even just like some choice where I could like choose it in and out. No, it was an absolute decision. This is the way I fucking am, and this is the way that it is. And I decided that when I was 6 years old. So what happened was like going into second grade. So all of that had happened when I was in first grade. So going into second grade, I remember, and this ties into like making decisions as a kid. So I go into second grade. Shout out Erickson Elementary, by the way. All my Vikings, Leaf Erickson, what's up? So I'm in second grade, and I remember I was just like fucked up. Like, and this is actually a really like true story. I wouldn't talk to for pretty much the whole year, second grade. I went silent. I would like respond to certain things like, yeah, no, like shit like that at a max. But like, I wasn't responsive. I wasn't like, like barely. And I wouldn't talk to people. I wouldn't share ideas. I wouldn't laugh. I wouldn't do shit like that. So I remember I would go around second grade and I would just observe people, and I would see kids playing kickball, and I would see kids laughing, screwing around, doing whatever. I would be like, in my head, I'm thinking like, yo, like, damn, you don't even realize you could be dead right now. Like, you don't even realize you're having fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck, dude. So, I was walking around thinking that shit, and I'm like, yo, these kids, like, don't even realize that life is so, like, precious, it could just be taken from us so easily. And these other kids weren't comprehending death or life or fun or not fun. It's just like, oh, just give me the ball, like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, it would just kind of like bug me. And I would walk around, I'm like, man, like, oh, I'm kind of jumping ahead. Let me go back and touch on something before I get to there. So there was something that happened in second grade, which was, I'm in this whole like quiet thing. My brain's just all fucked up, really. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to be a normal ass kid after some shit like that happens. And I grew up poor as fuck. So like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a whole nother thing. I'll get into another time. But like that, and like just, where do I want to go with this? Like, I don't know, just everything just piled up. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm in second grade and shit, life's just not easy. Going through what I just went through. So teacher calls on me, or she says something like, oh, everybody turn to page whatever and read question number 3. So I'm like, all right, cool. We all turn the page. And back then, like our workbook, all the categories, all the subjects were in the same book. So like math, English, reading, history, whatever is in the same textbook. So you flip to whatever chapter it was, and then like the teacher said, flip to whatever page, whatever, read question 3. So I flipped to it. I start reading a math problem, and we were supposed to read an English problem. And I'm like, so the whole class starts laughing at me. It's just lighthearted. It wasn't like, oh, you fucking idiot. But like the teacher kind of just went like, like, oh my God, like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I said page blah, blah, blah. And made some little comment, but how I took it was like, yo, you were stupid as fuck. So at that moment, with the class laughing at me feeling like I didn't even have a voice or nothing, and like just going through all of that shit, it was like, yo, like, why is this making noise? Sorry, my headphones tweaking. So at that moment, I was like, I'm fucking stupid. And then from then on from there on out, I would just get bad grades. And I was like, I started being like, yo, like, fuck school. Like, what is the point of grades? Like, there's life or death out here, and you're trying to tell me that fucking Pythagorean theorem or whatever the fuck you're teaching me is important? Like, yo, dude, come on now. So I was just checked out of school, man. And it was like, yo, you gotta go. You have to go. You gotta do good. Blah, 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 blah. And like, fortunately, my parents kind of understood. Yeah, I got my ass whooped here and there for it, but like, I just thought I was stupid. So thinking I was stupid just made me like angry, and it made me more angry because of my confusion. And I'm walking around school like confused as to how kids are just all willy-nilly, and I'm like, yo, like shit serious, this and that, and this is what I'm thinking. And I'm thinking I'm like imagine thinking you're dumb as fuck and life is super serious. Like that's who I was, and that's who I was like walking around in school and whatever, was like, yo, life is serious and I'm really stupid. So like how the fuck am I gonna get through this shit? So that's what I was thinking when I was in like second, third grade. And like in third grade, and this ties back into where I kind of like left off with like gang shit, was like when I was in third grade, the school was divided into two sides. And like I had a couple older homies who I knew from the neighborhood, and like I would go sneak over to the big kid side of the school, where it was like fourth through sixth graders, and on the small kid side of the school it was like kindergarten through third grade. So I'd go sneak over and see some of my bigger homies, and like, just whatever, chop it up, lace me up with game, whatever. And so I remember on that side of the school, it was like serious. Like you couldn't just go over there. They would beat you up. They'd give you a swirly, like literally. For those of you who don't know what that is, if you're not old school enough, this is real, by the way. A lot of younger kids, when I tell them this, they'll be like, no, but like really. I'm like, no, this is really what would happen. Is kids would hold you by your ankles. They would take you in the bathroom, hold you upside down by your ankles, put your head in the toilet, and like dip your head up and down in the toilet as they flush the toilet a bunch of times, so your head swirls, and that's why they call it a swirly. So I remember like that was a real fucking thing. I seen that happen to a couple kids, and I'm like, that shit ain't happening to me. So like I started like I had this like, yo, I'm dumb, blah blah blah, but at the same time I'm like, I realized, I noticed, I know how to like not get swirlies, and I know how to not get picked on. So I kind of put all my energy and attention and focus into like, all right, like how do I navigate to where nobody fucks with me? And that was where, I kind of like started, getting this whole perspective. Oh, and just to kind of add to this, kind of paint this picture a little more clear. In third grade, I used to get chased. Me and my two friends, Puff and my homie Gerald, shout out you guys, we would get chased home every single day for like a year or two. And I can't even remember what grades this was, but it was probably like second, third grade. I know for sure third grade. But these fucking sixth graders, there was like 8 or 12, there was like 8 to 12 of them depending on the day. And these motherfuckers would chase us full fucking speed every single day. These motherfuckers would get out of class. Their class was like closer to the outside of the school, like ours was way in the back, so they would get out first and just wait every single time, and we see these guys and we're like, oh fuck. My one homie didn't even speak English, and then my other homie was the only other like mixed kid who was poor like me also, and it was like me and my homie Puff were like the two mixed kids who were like poor, and like we both had mullets and long hair, and we're both like wild and just like down as fuck. Like people didn't really fuck with us, honestly. But like these fucking guys would chase us home. Well, except these guys. And finally I'm just like, man, fuck this, dude. So like there was a point, we had trained in kung fu and shit, and I finally learned enough. I'm like, man, I'm gonna whoop some motherfuckers' asses, bro. Like, hell no. And I remember we finally fucking stopped and stood these motherfuckers. And sorry, I'm checking my timer. We finally stopped, stood these motherfuckers, and they just didn't do anything. And they just kept walking, it was just like, yo, like it's just a power trip, So like, what's interesting is I noticed around school, around third grade, when I started going to the big kid side of school and I started getting tired of getting fucking bullied, I'm like, yo, those guys over there, they get hella respect. They don't get bullied. They got the fine ass girls, and they just look cool. And that was the fucking gangsters. And who that was like, I can't say too much. It was a first generation of an Asian gang around Mirror, so let's just say that. And these are some real motherfuckers. And I remember seeing them. I was like, yo, like they have the same look on their face as I do. And it was like pain, struggle, like, and just this like rugged, like don't fuck with me, like type of thing. And I just remember seeing that. I was like, yo, like, you guys look like me. And I was like, that respect, it just fucking like meant so much to me. And like, I remember they also too, because they're like immigrant kids, so they'd be wearing baggy ass clothes, they'd be sagging. I was sagging. I had on pants that I would literally fold around, like I would fold around myself twice and then tie a fucking belt around that. And like, so I was sagging because my pants were huge. I couldn't afford pants. And same with them. We're all rocking hand-me-downs, and that's why we were sagging our pants. But then later, other kids started doing that and shit. So like, excuse me. It became like a trend, you know? It's like, what the fuck? But it's interesting because that is what led me to seeing, yo, this is a way that people are. They're like me. They have got that pain. They got that struggle. They got that hardness. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, from there, I was like, yo, that's the respect I want. That's the attention I want. That's the demeanor I want. Like, ain't nobody fucking with me ever the fuck again. So, you know what I'm saying? And that's how I kind of got pointed towards that direction. So what we're going to do here real quick, we're going to take just a really, really quick break.